Hey everyone, I want to make a really short video about one specific part of this Inside Infinite in April thing. Overall, pretty good Inside Infinite. It's mostly about video stuff. Just fine, whatever. Widescreen stuff is super cool. But this here specifically is good or bad, depending on how they do it. But for ranked matches, we plan to restrict competitive playlists based on input type. So in theory, mouse and keyboard cannot play controller and vice versa. They believe the biggest differentiator in gameplay ability is with input, with aim assist and sniping. These are both absolutely correct. As far as what you're playing on and how you're playing the game, whether you're using a controller or keyboard mouse, is by far the biggest differentiator. And again, mostly aim assist and sniping are the big ones. However, if you play any mouse or if you play any Master Chief Collection these days, you'll know that banshees on mouse and keyboard in race are kind of a problem. But that's getting kind of sidetracked. What the real thing here is, I don't know how you separate ranked playlists and not cause issues. We'll start with the good part about this that I think they're doing well, and I think they're on the right track with, is you want to prevent as much toxicity as possible, right? Um, you see this a lot. It's been decades. People have been shitting on controller players and FPS. Mouse and keyboard superior, mouse and keyboard's better. You're always mouse and keyboard. You're shit because you only have auto aim on your controller, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to get in on that, but what I will say is separating inputs into different playlists does help cut back on the like you're only a 50 because you have auto aim on your controller, right? Um, so I like that they're thinking about that. It's still going to exist in social, but you want as many people playing social games as possible. You just want matches ASAP, so that's fine. Um, Two things that stand out to me the most on this is in MCC, they've been really, really shitty about displaying ranks in different playlists. I don't know how many of you guys actively play the Master Chief Collection or play ranked at all in that, but all it does is show your highest rank in one playlist. Um, so there's no good way to tell, like, if you play more than one playlist or how good you are in different playlists or things like that, which is a different conversation, but it worries me that with how lackluster that is, what they're going to be doing with this. Because if they do split the playlist, it has to be indicative of what playlists you're actually good at. I'm going to assume they're not going to use the 1 to 50 ranking. I would assume it's going to use the same thing that StarCraft 2 and League of Legends and every game since then has used, which is the like bronze to GM and masters playlists, or at least ranking system. If you do that, like, uh, the clout you get from being good at games and like the weight that your comments come with being able to verify your rank is pretty weighty, right? Like if you're a GM player and you can verify that you're a GM player, in pretty much every game, like your opinion has a lot more weight than other people's. At least in the technical aspects of how games work. Someone who's silver isn't any less valid for what's fun to them. Like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is like, um, if someone's gonna complain or try to bring up points for how to balance the game based on input, like you have to be good at the game for your opinion to like really have weight. So there's gonna be even more mudslinging if people go, well, I'm a GM Team Slayer player, so like controllers are shit and shouldn't be in my playlist, but like they only play mouse and keyboard and they're like silver and controller. Um, like it needs to be identifiable. So if someone goes in and shits on a playlist, because they're a GM, but they're really like a silver or gold in that playlist because it doesn't differentiate between input. It's kind of a problem. But like the main thing with this that worries me is the pro scene. Like they've already announced $1 million HCS tournament. Halo has traditionally been built around its esports scene. Like I don't want to take away from Forge and theater and all that stuff that's been a massive, massive part of Halo, but like Halo made MLG. MLG doesn't survive without Halo. Like MLG bled money for years and years to keep Halo alive because of how much it meant. And there's still diehard people putting on tournaments today for Halo. This game needs a competitive scene, and the competitive scene has to be representative of how the pros play. Like you can't have a separation between the competitive playlist in this game and what the pro scene looks like. So like kind of where I'm going with this is if you look at Apex Legends, I'm pretty sure you can use any input in Apex, right? Like you can use keyboard, mouse, you can use fucking Switch controller. It doesn't matter. And then the playlist is representative of that. Like, how shitty would it be if the pro scene in Apex used whatever input, but then you're only Predator and controller, and you're like plat on keyboard mouse or something? Like that seems weird. And like my main worry is, you either restrict the pro scene the same way, like you're not going to have two different HCSs, right? You're not going to support both controller and keyboard mouse input pro scenes. That doesn't make any sense. So if you're not doing that, you have to pick one if you're going to restrict it. If you pick one, the other playlist is obsolete. Or if you're not going to pick an input, you have to let them play on whatever. And if you let them play on whatever, why are you separating your competitive playlist? So like those are the things I'm worried about. Again, like the high level what they're trying to do here, which is prevent toxicity between the inputs, is really good. Like I would love people to stop complaining about inputs. Like it it doesn't matter. But the nature of the beast is people like to complain about stuff, and the easiest thing is complaining about auto aim or complaining about like no scoping with a mouse because it's like I've done it. It's really easy. So a lot of it will come down to like weapon and vehicle design and how that plays between controller and mouse. But I don't know if separating the players is the right way to do it. If they find a good way to do this, then hats off to them. I'm well done. But like I thought about it for a few days. I talked to a few people about it, and it doesn't sound like the right way to do it is separating the competitive playlists. Like mostly because of two things I mentioned. The pro scene for me is the biggest, but also like you need to identify what someone is, and like I don't know. It's gonna be weird, but I want to see my piece because like I don't know what's going to come out with it, and I don't want this to be a disaster and have like not made this video. I'll probably leave it there. I mean, I hope what they do works, but this seems really weird to me. One big highlight though is they're doing external flights and playtesting, which is sweet. A lot of the Halo pros haven't been streaming recently, so hopefully they've been on this and they've been taking good notes and giving 343 a bunch of constructive feedback. But yeah, that's about it. I hope whoever finds this enjoyed my little rant. Like there's a lot of things to be said about this, and there's a lot of good opinions around this, but I just wanted to say my piece. That's about it. Thank you.